Victor Wembanyama is the most insane, unreal, created player 2K figure that I've ever seen in my entire life. And the scary part is he's getting better. This is just the beginning. Coming into the league, I thought he'd be good, but he still felt like a project only because players at that size, they haven't really translated the best. But to Wemby's credit, so far this year, he's only missed 6 games, knock on wood. And the stuff he's doing on a night-to-night basis that we're kind of normalizing because we're getting used to him isn't normal. We're talking about 10 block triple doubles as a rookie. That stuff ain't normal. We're talking about a guy that can gamble on the steal. Mind you, his wingspan is long enough where it's a good chance that he can actually get it. And even if he doesn't, he's agile and long enough to recover, alter, or block your shot. And he's doing it every single night. We're talking about the 15th player in the history of the sport to go 5 for 5 in a game and fill up 5 different major stat categories with 5+. And even beyond the numbers, if you're watching him, he's a real life alien. I find this season to be very fascinating because we just watched LeBron score 40K points. By the way, that record will never, ever, ever be broken, not even by Wemby, sadly. But we keep talking about who's the new face of the NBA and who is going to enter that spot as soon as LeBron leaves. And to me, the answer is obvious. Wemby. I get it. He's not American and we're used to the Stephs, the LeBrons, the Kobes, Jordans, etc. But when you have a once in a generation type of talent at that size, his game alone is going to command eyes because he's so damn unique. He's so damn different. Literally something that we've never seen, where I believe everybody is going to be hyper focused on how far exactly can he maximize that potential. Wemby currently is on one of the worst teams in basketball. And if you want to know exactly how bad, well, they have the worst point differential in the West, one of the worst in the league. They don't win many games, as we all know. Outside of Wemby, they don't really defend well. He covers a lot of their mistakes. And most importantly, in a shooting league, they can't shoot. Before the season even started, I predicted Chet Holmgren was going to win the Rookie of the Year. And the race was going kind of how I imagined at first. OKC, they would win more games, Chet would be effective, and Wemby would have slightly better numbers, but the winning would prevail. Kind of like a Melo LeBron situation as a rookie, but obviously way more winning for OKC. But comparing these two right now, Wemby is just playing way more dominant basketball in a way worse situation. And if you compare their situations, it's not even close. No disrespect to Chet, because I actually love his game and he's playing great in his own right. But he's playing with one of the best scorers in the league and literally the best driver of the basketball in the sport. Shea is a top scorer in this league going back to last year, and he's leading the NBA with 24 drives a night, which directly contributes to how efficient their offense is collectively. OKC currently leads the NBA in three-point percentage, and they're one of the more efficient teams in the NBA. A lot of that is how Shea creates defensive breakdowns and creates opportunities for everybody. Not even just Shea. Jalen Williams, who's having a crazy breakout season, he can create for himself. He can create defensive breakdowns, and he's averaging 12 drives a night. If you look at OKC as a team, they obviously lead the NBA in drives, and they create a lot of assists off of that identity. Kudos to them. They have a system that really works. But with that spacing and with those opportunities, Chet is shooting well over 40% on catch and shoot threes. Not even just Chet. A lot of his teammates are, because they have guys that can get a bucket and draw attention. The Spurs, they don't really have that. If you look at Wemby's team, let's be real, they don't really have a true effective point guard or a player that can really create opportunities for Wemby by himself. Their highest driver of the basketball is his two best teammates, Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. Both of them, Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, and I'm not blaming them, but they both have terrible assist to turnover ratios while driving because the spacing is ass. Just for comparisons, I told you Chet is shooting well over 40% on catch and shoot threes. Meanwhile, Wemby is in the 20s. Most of that to me is because of how different the looks are. Also, Chet, he doesn't have the responsibilities or the ball nearly as much as a Wemby, and that just shows if you look at the usage rates. But again, Chet is great in his own right, and this dude is just different. Now, to me, even though the Spurs, they've been losing all year, the first 2 to 3 months, I think Wemby was just filling out the NBA and getting a feel for the game and the speed. he was pretty inefficient facing all those double teams with the terrible spacing they had. His turnovers were pretty high, and he didn't always make the correct reads with the double teams he faced. And even in the midst of all of that, he was still insanely productive. But since like February, it's like he's gotten insanely comfortable, and he's truly been one of the most dominant players in the league. Since February, the Spurs, they still lose a ton. They've lost 10 of their last 13 games. They had one of the worst records in that span. But since February, if you look at the Spurs players plus minuses, the absolute worst is his backup, Zach Collins, which thank God they don't play as many minutes together because that was very funky. And the only players with positive plus minuses is Wemby and Julian Champagnie, and that's only because he plays a lot with Wemby. Also, going back to his development, look at some of the passes he makes. I'm not gonna lie, coming into the league, I had no idea how good / clever of a passer he actually was. Since February, he's averaging damn near 5 assists a night with no real shooter. They don't have a bunch of snipers on that team. If you look at some of the bigs that average a lot of assists, abnormal assists, like a Sabonis, a Giannis, Draymond, if you consider him a big, they normally play on teams that shoot and make a lot of threes. That's not really the Spurs. For the whole year, they've been terrible, but since the beginning of the calendar year, January, the Spurs rank dead last in three-point percentage. So teams, they can really sag off of their non-shooters in crowded space, and he's still just as effective. Also, I've heard some media members and even some fans on Twitter say, okay, he puts up all these great numbers, but why can't they win? If it's one thing I learned from Nikola Jokic, or one thing Nikola Jokic taught me last year, I'm not judging a great talent off his current situation, like at all. I remember when Jamal Murray went down in 2021, and in 2022, Jamal Murray and MPJ went down, and in the playoffs, Nikola Jokic lost 2 straight playoff series in which he only won 1 game. So he went 1-8. That caused a lot of people, including myself, Nick Wright, a lot of Skip Bayless. People are saying like, okay, he puts up all these numbers, but does that really translate in the playoffs? Literally, as soon as they became whole again, all of those questions were put directly to rest, and it looks like they can do it again this year. Obviously, Wemby is a great all-around talent, but I think especially defensively, he has the potential to be the greatest defensive player ever, and I don't even think that's that bold of a take. Literally, since he played his first game, listen to how dominant this man has really been on the defensive end naturally. According to TeamRankings.com, if you look at stocks, which is steals and blocks, this man as a rookie is averaging the most stocks literally since they covered the stat. Since February, when he's posting like triple-double blocks and all that, Wemby has the best individual defensive rating in the league. And back to stocks, he's averaging 6 in that span. Also in that span, he has 20 more blocks than the second best Anthony Davis, and he has more than teams, and he leads the NBA individually in blocks and steals in that span. And offensively, still stuck with that nasty spacing that he's on right now. He's a lot more efficient. He's reading coverages better. The game looks like it's slowed down, and he's shooting like 43% from deep on 5 attempts since February. The crazy thing to me about Wemby, his numbers are great, like phenomenal. I just read them all, but they still don't tell the full story. Like, you have to actually watch how many shots he alters and how much court he covers. It's insane. And back to his defense really quickly. I told you since February, Wemby has the best individual defensive rating in that span. You know what makes that stat so damn crazy to me? If you look at the top 10 players in that span, so the 9 players below Wemby, they're all on top 10 defensive teams in that span. All of them except Wemby. Last year, they were 26th in blocks. This year, they're 3rd. And the last thing with Chet, and Chet, I'm gonna let you live, bro. I actually love your game. And if it wasn't for Wemby, we will all be raving about you right now. But Chet, even defensively, he's playing beside SGA, a steals leader, Lou Dort, who had Kevin Durant in a box Sunday night, and Jalen Williams. It's just different. If you guys like this video, please like this video. I'm just watching this dude on a night-to-night basis, and I'm actually watching his games more than primetime games because I'm simply amazed at an alien-type talent that we've never seen before, and I just had to talk about him because this dude is actually incredible. Make sure you guys follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys, and until next time, as always, stay tuned.